used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add 2 more figures to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, the reason I say 2 new figures is because we will be taking a look at McFarlane's version of JLA Batman, as well as finally putting together the highly anticipated Plastic Man collector build figure. Now, I will be mainly focusing on that Plastic Man figure because the Batman we have seen before, it is basically just a repaint. So the figure I'm more interested is going to be the Plastic Man. Now we have gone through the whole wave. We did do Hook Hand Aquaman, Green Lantern John Stewart, and we also took a look at Blue Energy Suit Superman. So I am really looking forward to this. Now the Batman does look pretty dark in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have an image from the JLA comic book storyline. Now, I did look up a lot of references of these covers and comic books just because I wanted to get a better grasp on the versions of each character. Now, I did notice that they do have these characters in the comic book. I did see this version of Aquaman. At first, they do have the mullet Superman, but then they do transition into the energy suit Superman. Now, one big difference is you don't really see John Stewart, you actually see Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern. And this version of Batman isn't necessarily reflective of the figure that they gave us because, of course, this is the Three Jokers version of Batman. And the version of the Dark Knight that comes out in that JLA comic can change a little, but he's basically your darker schemed Batman with a smooth costume. So it doesn't have the texture that this figure has. And sometimes he does have a little bit of those pointy, sort of vampiric design on the shoulders, but sometimes he doesn't have it, so you could go either way with that. But all in all, pretty cool image of Batman. Now on the back, you do have some information. So we will hold on to this card. Now he only comes with one accessory, which is his grapnel gun. You do have that attachment connected to it. I do have a couple of this version of the grapnel gun, but I'll always add it to the Batman arsenal. Now he does come with a couple of accessories for the Plastic Man. He comes with these 2 elongated arms. One is just like a sort of large hand with extended fingers, and one is sort of like a lasso shaped arm. Pretty interesting, pretty cool. These will go great with Plastic Man. And he also comes with the 2 versions of Plastic Man's head. First, you do have just this smiling, regular, standard version, but you also get a sort of elasticized version where the neck is stretched out and the head does have a very interesting sculpt to it. Pretty sweet. We'll hold on to that. Now, as I said, we will take a close look really quick at this Batman, but it is just a repaint of the version we have gotten a couple before. They didn't change the head sculpt. The only difference is the color scheme. You got that bright yellow and the completely black costume. Now, although I do get what McFarlane was trying to go for, he's trying to represent a dark version of Batman from the 90s, but I really wish they would have at least swapped out the head sculpt. Now, I actually put the Hush Batman head on here, and it looks way better than this Three Jokers head. But I also had a rather interesting alternate head, which was the one from the Spawn and Batman 2 pack. But I don't know what it is about this one, but it just really looks good to me, and really tempted to use this one to do some figure photography. And as I stated before, this Three Jokers head just kind of doesn't necessarily match the JLA comic version. But there is a little detail he does have, and that is that they added a sort of really light blue wash. You have it on the head, you have it on the gauntlet spikes, and you have it on the boots, and it's just really softly applied on there. Isn't too striking of a blue, but it's a little wash that gives this figure a little bit of life. So I am pretty happy to add another Batman to the collection. Now, when these were all revealed, we knew that this Batman was kind of going to be the odd man out, especially because they didn't try to do any kind of body swapping or head swapping to give us at least an alternate version of a Batman. So, by far, this is probably going to be the least desirable figure from this wave. Now, as far as Plastic Man goes, I have already put together the body from the pieces we received from the other figures. And to slap on the Plastic Man head, you just pop it right on. One of those plug heads that I'm not too big of a fan of, but it has grown a little bit on me over time. I still think the ultimate head designs would be the neck plug, but have the head also that could move around on its own. But for some reason, McFarlane is in love with this head plug where the head is connected to the neck and it has no separate articulation except at the base of the neck. So, taking a look at this Plastic Man, first impressions, really cool classic design for Plastic Man. Definitely some pros and cons. One of the cool things is the detail of the little stringers that go across his chest. But one negative is that the belt is just painted on, it's not a separate piece. But as far as a complete Plastic Man figure, this guy looks really, really good. Now, there is a couple of other things I don't like and some things that I really enjoy. So, since we're going to focus more on this Plastic Man, let's go ahead and take a look at it. As I said, first impressions, really cool Plastic Man design, really good use of a body type for this Plastic Man. They did change out some parts that they needed to, but they also lacked a little bit of details. But I do think they made some poor choices in the design, but it's not a deal breaker. I'm really happy to add this Plastic Man to the collection. Now, if you take a closer look at the head sculpt, a lot of people don't like the smiling heads from McFarlane, but this one is really good. It doesn't bother me at all. The teeth look really nice. They match good with the character, really filling out his sort of attitude that he has, giving him that little bit of comical flair. Now, as I said before, not a big fan of the neck plug because you do see a little bit of gap when you try and look up. Now, down is another story. It looks really good and there's no problem there. But you do know when you try to manipulate him a lot more, you start seeing a little bit of a gap. You do have right to left. And of course, you could tilt his head for some character. So, for what it is, I'm fine with this. It's not a big deal. One thing I'm a big fan of is those sort of Elvis style big shades that he wears. And a cool detail is, once again, we knew McFarlane was trying to do this, and that is that instead of adding clear goggles or clear lenses, he's decided to do little paint apps. Now, we did see this on Animal Man, where he didn't have the clear plastic goggles, but they do paint a little accent there to give it a sort of effect that he is wearing glasses or lenses. And in a way, it kind of does work where it gives you that effect of reflection in the lenses when you don't necessarily have to have the added cost of using clear plastic. But deep down, I do prefer the transparent plastic. But this definitely works with this figure. The reflection effect that they have in the lenses has a little bit of realism to it. Love the hair sculpt. That is some really nice hair. No sort of blue wash or anything, but you can always add that yourself. All in all, great head sculpt. Not perfect articulation, but good articulation. And not the best design ever, but passable for a Plastic Man figure. Moving down to the body, as I said, they have sculpted out the little stringers of his costume. You do have really good waist articulation. He actually does have some forward crunch, which is nice. The shoulder is the same socket and bushing shoulder joint. Now, on the left hand, you do once again have a gripping sort of trigger finger hand when this character doesn't really hold anything. So a little bit annoying once again, but we'll take a look at that towards the end of the review. But as it is, this hand, I mean, he could hold some money or he can even hold a strap. But of course, I prefer these figures to have two fists. Just like on the right side, you have that really nice fist. I just wish it was on both hands. Now moving down, you got really nice sculpted legs, really great articulation. Down into the feet. Now, this is a pretty nice little detail that they have, and that is that his feet are kind of like webbed a little bit. They're not like separated toes or digits, because this is a characteristic that Plastic Man actually has. Now, the pins and the knees are slightly off of color. It's not enough that it's a big glaring negative, but you can tell if you look at it in hand. Taking a look at them from the bottom, no tread and no identifying marks. Basically, you just have bare feet. Looking into the back now, one thing I do say is that the way McFarlane cuts the trunks for these the way that McFarlane cuts the trunks for this body buck, it doesn't always work like on the Blue Beetle and the Booster Gold, but for some reason the shape of these trunks really work well with this Plastic Man. It just fits nicely and you still get a lot of movement and articulation, especially with that soft rubber. Going up the back, you got that Plastic Man split design, and you go into the back of the hair. Really cool Plastic Man figure. Doesn't disappoint at all. This is what I was really expecting. Now, as I said, I do like to add fists to these figures. So that was the first thing I did, was looked into my fodder box where I have all my hands, and I found him a really nice fist that fits on this figure, because I just feel like that completes the look of these characters. Now you can also switch out the parts. You can add this elongated finger stretching out hand. Now it isn't bendable necessarily. I'm sure you could heat this up and kind of bend it a little, but basically it's just your soft plastic extended arm. You can also switch out the head for this pretty sweet stretching neck, which also has that cool face sculpt where he's giving a sort of funny face. His lenses actually mold to the emotion of the character. Pretty nice. And you can also add the lasso arm just for an added little effect. Now, when these were actually first revealed, I had an idea like if I only needed one Plastic Man, but come to find out that definitely is not necessarily true. I am working on getting another set of these so that I can build two bodies to display the arms and the alternate head because I am sick like that.
God, you're sick.
And as everybody knows, I must display both versions of the heads. So I am currently working on building another set of these, as well as trying to hunt down the platinum versions of these figures. Now, another thing you should know about me is I don't necessarily have to have a platinum open and one in box for my mint inbox collection. If I only find one platinum, I usually just leave it in box. Unless I come across a cheap loose one or one that I can open or in stores, then I may have another platinum version loose to display. But that is not my main objective. The main rule is that I just have to have at least one of all releases from McFarlane, be it open or in box. So, all in all, I'm really happy with this guy. Now, he does articulate very well and get in some cool poses. There's tons of possibilities with these extra arms and the alternate head. And I'm also going to be working on doing a little photo shoot for the JLA, adding my own versions of the JLA characters to do a pretty cool little snapshot. So if you follow me on Instagram, you could check that out. But really awesome to add this character to the collection. I did hear people saying that it would be awesome to get a baby Plaz, which is another cool little thing, but we can only wait and see what the future holds. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.